When utilizing a DT50s snare drum trigger with your EAD10, there's a ton of individual fine customization options available to you. Now, when you're in the menu screen and you go into Scene Edit at the very top, you'll get more parameters to choose from. So to begin with, I have my DT50s snare drum trigger plugged into the back of the EAD10, specifically into inputs 3/4. Now, I covered this briefly in a previous video, talking about the differences between instrument and voice. So if I press enter into instrument, I'm only going to be able to assign one voice to my trigger. Now mind you, the DT50s snare drum trigger is a dual piezo trigger, so I can trigger two separate sounds, one on the rim of my snare drum and one on the surface of my snare drum. So if I want to do that, you need to go into voice instead of instrument. You're going to press enter into that and then choose the category of sound that you want to assign to the trigger. So you have percussive sounds, effects, you can upload your own WAV files via USB. There's just a ton of options to you. So from this point, you go ahead and assign the voices that you want to each of those zones. Okay, so I have a tambourine sound and then a conga sound assigned. Now if you're happy with that, you can go ahead and exit out and then go ahead and store those changes, and they'll be saved as a user scene. Now from this point, I just want to talk about some more of the things that you see here in this menu, such as effects, volume, and tempo, which I'll cover in a different video. So how the EAD10 works, for those of you that are familiar with it, you have two stereo microphones inside of a box that also acts as a kick drum trigger that attaches to the rim of your bass drum. And I can control the overarching amount of reverb for the entire kit through those microphones with these knobs here, such as reverbs, effects, and then the amount of trigger sensitivity I want either for my snare drum trigger or for my kick drum trigger. Now, if I want to be very specific and I want to have a very specific set amount of reverb or even the volume on my snare drum trigger compared to the overall arching effect of my whole kit, that's when you go into effects and I can change the amount of reverb I want on the voices of my snare drum trigger. To show you a quick example, I'll scroll down and show you the volume changes I can make to my snare drum trigger as well. So for example, if I tap on one of the zones and I want that to be louder, I'm going to use the plus button to scroll up, and it goes all the way to 127. Notice it's a little bit louder. If I want it to be quieter, so I can set those individual parameters if I want. And if I tap on the other zone, I can do the same thing. So it just goes to show you all the very specific customization features that you have with your DTS 50 snare drum trigger in relations to the EAD10.